Okay. Don't want to blow anyone's ears out after that race. How we doing? Do we sound good? Give me a yes or a no on the mic check, because I know that if it's bad, it'll go off for 10 seconds and then it'll be fine. So, are we good? Are we good? Let me know in the chat. We good? We good. Sweet. All right. I can talk. And Lord knows I like to talk. So that was the 2025 Food City 500. And I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of takes on that race. I'm seeing it right now in the chat. Some are saying that I need to dunk on everyone who hates the 5. Others are saying I need to dunk on Fox. Others are saying I need to dunk on the racing. No matter what, everyone wants a rant tonight. I don't know if we'll get a rant, but we'll go off on tangents and talk about this race. That's for sure. But this was the Kyle Larson 500. If there ever was one. Kyle Larson nabs the victory, doesn't nab the victory. He has the victory pretty well in hand by 2.25 seconds over Denny Hamlin after 500 laps. 3 cautions, 40 laps, 4 lead changes, 2 hours, 38 minutes, 42 seconds, time of the race. Pretty quick race. So for those of you who didn't like it, it was mercifully short, at least. But Denny Hamlin finishes second, Ty Gibbs third, Chase Briscoe fourth. So JGR 2, 3, 4. Then Ryan Blaney, a top 5. Tried a different strategy. Didn't go all that well. That happens, at least he and a couple others went for it. William Byron at the 6th place run, then Ross Chastain in 7th, Christopher Bell 8th. Not very often that Bell is the last finisher of the JGR fleet, but still an 8th place finish shows how good that team is today. AJ Allmendinger, 9th place finish, fastest lap in the race with a 15.38, just a skosh, only a couple thousandths of a second faster than Kyle Larson's fastest lap. So Larson does not get the perfect race. But those are your lead lap cars. Austin Dillon with a top 10 today, 1 lap off the pace. Carson Hocevar, 11th. Should have probably had a top 5, maybe even top 3 run today. Had speed on par with Denny Hamlin, on par with maybe even Kyle Larson. At points, he had speed on par with them. But because of the jack failing on a pit stop, unfortunately for Hocevar, our guest this past week on NWP, by the way, he gets an 11th place run. Still a good run, though, for what his season's been. Josh Berry with 12th, Justin Haley in 13th, Kyle Busch 14th, 15th, Chase Elliott, then 16th, 2 laps down for Brad Keselowski, Cindric in 17th, 18th, Reddick, 19th, Bubba Wallace. Preece gets a top 20 today. I think he got the most or every single one of the lucky dogs today with his 20th place finish, but ultimately it wasn't enough to save him. 21st is John Hunter Nemechek. 22nd, Ricky Stenhouse. 23rd, Noah Gragson. 3 laps down in 24th for Joey Logano. Just never had it today. Chris Buescher, 25th. 26th, Eric Jones. Lost power steering. Kept just basically scraping by, literally, on the wall. From there, you have Zane Smith, 27th. 4 laps down for Riley Herbst in 28th. 5 down for Cole Custer in 29th, 30th for Michael McDowell. Jesse Love in his first start, 31st, 32nd, 6 laps off the pace for Ty Dillon, 33rd for Suarez, 34th for LaJoie, 7 laps down apiece for Todd Gilliland in 35th and Cody Ware in 36th. Those were the last ones on track. Alex Bowman blows an engine out of the race in 37th. Shane Van Gisbergen, miserable day, wrecks out, then just decides after coming out for a little bit to pull it back in unless they didn't meet minimum speed. They were pretty slow. 38th position. And out of the race in last, Josh Bilicki. So there is your finishing order. We'll put it on the bottom. I will read those super chats, I promise, like towards the end and all of that as we do. But here is the finishing order on the bottom. Let me know in the chat, out of 10, what would you give this race? 10 being the absolute best Bristol race you've ever seen, 0 being the absolute worst. Personally, I thought this was a pretty dull race. And it wasn't because Kyle Larson dominated. Just I have to keep saying that every time, right? It's just, and I think part of it is disappointment on my end too. I wanted this race maybe not to be as crazy as last year, but I really wanted this race to at least have some kind of variable factor with it. And then Blaney tried, his team tried with the strategy, but ultimately this race was probably the closest you could get to the night race last year. Let's see in the chat what we got here. We got 2-0. Masters more exciting. 3-2. Race was horrible. Z's out of 10. 2. 2. Let's see. Let's see what else we got. A pure 0 out of 10. 0 out of 10 now. 2. 0, 0, 2. I'm just like popping everybody on screen. 5, 4, 2.5. Larson fan, so 10 out of 10. Hey, you know what? I give you credit. At least no one, have fun with it, man. Have fun with it. 2, 2, 4.5. So generally it's been a pretty negative reception to this race. I'd probably give it a 3. I honestly thought it was a little worse than say a Martinsville or a Darlington. I did not think that it was all that compelling in any way. I mean, I'm looking at the poll right now, and we may have the lowest net positivity for a race on the poll. Now, granted, we won't even have 1,000 votes in yet for a little bit, but we might have the lowest net positivity for a poll I've seen since 2019. It might be the lowest one in a good 6-7 years, give or take. It was rough. I mean, there's no other way around it, man. I mean, it was a rough race to watch if you weren't a Kyle Larson fan. There was the ability at times to pass. Better cars could get past the slower ones, so it's difficult. But I got to say this. Let's talk about positives first. I want to talk a little bit about those before we go into bashing everything, because we can talk about the race itself. It's literally, I mean, it's barely any notes that we have for this race. So we can talk about probably more when it comes to the car, which everyone wants to talk about. Kyle Larson, which I know that everyone either loves or hates at this point because he's won so much that he's reached that level. He's reached that Jimmy, Jeff, Dale level in a sense of people being sick of him winning. Kyle Busch had the same thing for a while. Harvick had the same thing. So there's plenty to talk about there for sure. Let's see. But looking at the race itself, the positives. Larson, obviously, it's a positive for him. Very dominant day. Not as dominant as his Xfinity win. I wouldn't say even as dominant as his night race win last year. But at the same time, you gotta compliment when somebody is just really good at kicking everyone's ass. Denny was catching up to him and at least kind of made it a show. But that 5 team, I think, even unless it's a complete tire lottery like it was last year, that 5 team is going to win this race. I think we can safely say the best car won each race. I know it's a low bar to compliment here, but kudos to NASCAR for not throwing BS cautions and trying to make a show out of it, and trying to spice it up at the end. They didn't pull any of that kind of BS. They didn't do anything like that. And to that, I say good on them for it. There is that to look at. And I mean, good runs today for a couple of different guys. Hocevar, I talked about before. We had him on the show. Should have probably had a top 3 run today. At worst, a top 5. That 77 car was really, really good today. Haley got a 13th place run, kind of fell back after everyone started going all out, but he was the first one to figure out that this wasn't going to just be a one of those races that everyone just has to lay back. Because at the first 40 laps or so, everyone laid back. And then the 7 and the 5 immediately like started going up to the front because everyone realized like, hey, we can actually race on the tires. I will give credit to Goodyear as well. I know people aren't going to see it in this, but the tires did wear off. It's not on Goodyear anymore. I'm sorry. For me, Goodyear gets a pass pretty much for the rest of the year. They've done their part. The tires are fine. If anything, I think the tires are actually good, and I think they can improve on them more and have been working and improving on them more. It's not on them anymore. They have, I think they're stretching. It's like a rubber band, and they're stretching that rubber band as far as possible before it just completely destroys. So I want to give that to, other than that though, there really wasn't much when it came to redeeming qualities for this race. It just was a dull race. Credit to Blaney for trying to spice it up a little bit. I give him that, and I give the 12 team that they at least tried to do something different. The 2311 guys did too, but they were nowhere near fast enough to make any of that work. And that's just that's it. I mean, that's it. One guy tried something different today. Denny Hamlin didn't try something different. He pitted a little early, but Larson did. But it's like, I have a feeling that the 5 is going to pit no matter what during that cycle when they did. The fact that just one guy tried something, like, why can't we just have a few different guys that are competitive try something? Like, what's the worst thing can happen? You fall a lap down and finish 7th? I mean, we had 9 on the lead lap, and if maybe 4 of them had tried something different, 4 more of them, and then a bunch got trapped a lap down and had to charge at the end and maybe lost a spot or two. Like, we they can say as much as they want. The points, all the points matter and all of that, but it's like, go for a win, especially the guys up there, on the lead lap for sure that have already won. Yeah, it was rough. We could talk about some of the other main points, going through the race, and let's talk about the main points as we go through the race, because there's not much to go through. The difference between yesterday and today when it came to practice versus the way the race went is 5 to 8 degrees, roughly. Yesterday in practice, it was like in the low 50s. I think that the temperature I saw being floated around was like 53 or 54. Today during the Bristol race, it peaked at 61. That is how finicky it is. Again, we are one bit of cloud cover away possibly from having last year's race. On one hand, it's like, it's good to at least know that it was the temperature that caused that race, and know in advance maybe we could get it, because I talked about it last year, or yesterday, I should say, that we knew that the temperature might have been an issue, but we'd have to see because there's other variables. Now we know, it's the temperature. After seeing the kind of basically a before and after. But that didn't happen. Bowman starts on pole, fires off. Larson takes the lead within 40 laps, and it's just very similar to the fall race. Wins stage 1 over Hamlin, Haley, Bowman, and Hocevar, Bell, Blaney, Stenhouse, Gibbs, and Allmendinger, the top 10. And looking at that point, okay, I can't. I'm sorry. I'm frustrated, and I'm trying not to be a moron about it. I'm trying to at least vent my frustration correctly here. We're on year 4 of the car. Again, this is off of what we're talking about with stage 1, but I figure we get a little through it. We're on year 4 of this car, and honestly, if the intermediates take a nosedive, where's the redeeming qualities at this point? The short tracks, I mean, even think with the Gen 6, the short tracks with the bread and butter amazing moments. Like, this isn't like Richmond, where the car has not really been the factor that has changed it, where the racing has sucked for a while. No, Bristol and Martinsville. Like, I've been seeing all this talk after Martinsville races about we need to go to one date. or we need to shorten the races more. Like this is a catastrophe. We can't keep going here. Or are we going to say the same damn thing about Bristol now? Because other than one crazy ass race where the tires didn't stay together, what have we really had at Bristol since we got with this car? Diminishing returns, right? So you're 4 years in, and all we've done is minimal aero changes, and basically ask Goodyear to break their back carrying this car with their tires. And and don't get me wrong, there are positives about the next gen with the intermediate side of it, especially Kansas, Charlotte, the mile and a half. I'd even put Michigan in there, put Nashville in there, and there's other races they pop up on. And I get there's improvement, but we're 4 years into this now. And the tracks that should be providing us the best possible racing, the tracks that should be the action tracks, are more often than not boring as hell. And the only reason at times that some of the TV can make it interesting is if they're having their playoff talk. I mean, the one good Martinsville race we've had with this car, and the playoffs freaking ruined it. No one remembers it being good. But going back to Bristol, I mean, are we going to have this conversation now? Should Bristol have one date? No, I don't think it should. I saw people being like it looked like it was maybe half to 60% full in the stands. And I'm like, yeah, it holds 140,000. There's still plenty of people that go there. People there, I've seen people like put the rock here. Well, we don't know what this car will do. More often than not, this car tends to be more difficult on tracks like that. Put North Wilkesboro there. It's a short track. Maybe it'll work, but more often than not, the short tracks don't work. So it's like, I am not going to pretend I'm smart enough to know the fix, because I'm not. But I can hear what people say who are smarter than me on it. And the people that are smarter than me, like Denny Hamlin, like Yates, like all of these other people, keep saying, how about we add some horsepower? And I get, you can't just like make it a one fell swoop thing. They'd probably have to do it for next year if they decided now to change it. Fine. Give me some hope. And if it doesn't work, okay, you tried it. But we're 4 years in, and NASCAR basically had to be begged not to do 550 with this car. Can you imagine if this car was bogged down even more? Like, can you imagine how bad that would be? I mean, there's people, more and more people are jumping on the horsepower bandwagon. And eventually you change all of this other stuff with the car, a little tinkering here and there. You go and change the tires left and right and ask Goodyear to fix the problem. But NASCAR designed an inherently flawed car that can't race well at the places that the Gen 6 could race well at. And the Gen 6 was not a good car. Like, let's not pretend that car looked nice. Just like this one. I think this car looks nice. But let's not pretend that these are good cars. And maybe this is just like the straw that broke the camel's back. Was it the worst Bristol race with this car? No. But that doesn't mean it was good. Like, so many people I saw in the chat or on social media are like, that are saying, just different things. Like, God, I can't even think straight right now. Sorry, I'm reading your comments, and your comments are all over the place too, just like me. So, and I get it. Yeah, Gen 6 probably was trash. Like, all in all, trash. But it could race well at the short tracks and road courses. This, I'll disagree with. 550 sucked. All right. No. Because we've already talked this week about them like wanting to change a mile and a half possibly to a super speedway. We don't need lipstick on a pig for a lot of these problems. We need wholesale changes at this point. It's just frustrating. It's just really, really frustrating because I'm seeing everyone left and right throwing out different ideas or different things about it. And it's just, yeah, exactly. The Gen 6 with the 550 was way worse than what we have now. But the point that I think, and this is probably where I went off track for a second. The point I was about to make was, a lot of people are like, this isn't even the worst short track race or in the top 5 worst short track races with the next gen car. And you're probably right. Honestly, some of the Richmond races were pretty dull. Other Bristol races were bad. The Martinsville ones have been atrocious. Yeah, you're probably right. But that doesn't mean that we lower the bar on what's a good short track race. I'm ready because I'm ready to make a ticker down here that just says hang the banner and just hang the banner. We're not the worst. Well, yeah, okay. Instead of a 0 out of 10, you're a 3 out of 10. Great. But it's, again, 4 years in, and we have no substantial changes at the bread and butter tracks of our sport. That's where I have the problem with it. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not the biggest new Bristol fan, but Bristol since 2012 has generally still been a really fun track. Now, if it was like Bristol from '08 to early spring 2012, sure, I get it. Because that, while it was interesting in a sense, it was not fun to watch as a fan. But this is not a bad track. Look at the Gen 6 races at Bristol leading up to the next gen era. Like look at those races back. And those are almost all from like 2018 or so on, especially just drawing a cut line here. Those are pretty interesting races. Those are actually some pretty fun races. So it's not the track. All right. It's not, and it's, I'm going to say the same thing over and over again about Bristol, about Martinsville. It's not the racetrack that's the problem. The PJ1 this is one of the only places it's actually benefits the racing a lot when everything goes right. So I don't think it's the track. Now that wasn't the only thing that kind of got under my skin. I know that, a lot of other people are in there in the chat. I see you guys are just like, damn, about what I'm saying, how much I'm going. No, absolutely not. And then we need more short tracks. We do need short tracks, but we need a car that's not freaking broken. And but that's not the only thing that was a problem today. I've been kind of quiet the last couple of weeks on this one particular topic just because we can complain about it every week. I've been, again, quiet just because I don't think people want to hear me complain about the same damn things. And to be fair, for everyone that might go in here and say, "Oh, he's just negative as usual. He's just bitching and moaning because that's what he does." Look at the first, I'd say, half now of the season. I would actually say that I was pretty positive to start the year. And I was actually positive after Homestead. And a little more, I think, than most people were after Darlington, right? So this isn't like I've been complaining about even the good races too. So I want to kind of push back on any of that because I see it. I know a lot of you guys see it, but the point I was, I'm also going to get to that I've been holding back on is the broadcast. And I know people are probably sick. I'm sick of talking about it. I don't want to talk about it. I'm glad that we are, again, mercifully being put out of our misery with this at the 600 this year instead of in July. But Fox, man, oh my God. Sorry, that piece of candy in here. Fox is just so bad. It's so freaking bad. It's like torture at this point. And don't get me wrong, like it's not like, CW or old TNT or ABC ESPN or NBC later in the year. It's not like they're not perfect. There's things to talk about. I mean, CW, it's like the biggest rug pull of the century, having that awesome opening couple weeks with the booth at the track and all the great 3-man booth. And now we just get like 3 or 4, weeks in a row of them not being at the track and 2 or 3 weeks in a row of a 2-man booth, not at full strength. And like I saw people like, well, they have other obligations they're doing or family stuff. It's like, okay, you got a job too. Normal people can't just call off their jobs because they got a thing going on. So-and-so's kids doing their little competition. No, that's not how the real world works. But the broadcast for Fox is another level, man. It's another level of awful. It's just this is what I feel like we're having leveraged here. Do you want awful broadcast with the people at the track, or good enough for pretty good broadcast, but they're not going to be at the track and not going to get those little intricacies and different things like that. Um, that's what I feel like as fans, we're the options we're given. Um, do you want that or this or that? We can't get both for some reason. The booth is just awful. Mike Joy tries. He tries. And he's a living legend, but my God, he doesn't have his fastball anymore. He was definitely getting a few different things wrong, which that's honestly with his age and his tenure, I'm okay with. I'm okay with him getting a few goof ups here and there. He's nowhere near like DW in 2017 and 18 bad, and 19 I think too. It's nowhere near that. And he's trying. You could tell, like, even if he sounds disinterested at times, I think it's because he's just getting sick of the issues. But Harvick and Boyer, man, they're just Harvick. I still think that with the right person beside him can be pretty good, but it's apparent now he's so dull in the booth. He's so dull to listen to. And it's not like, you go back, like I know a lot of people look at current broadcasts and then compare it to old ones, and they're like, well, Ken Squire didn't like raise his voice. Well, you can be calm and collected in the booth and still show personality and still, have quirkiness and different things like that. And Harvick, he's great with the matter of fact stuff and the driver stuff. He's great with it. That's why it's redundant to have two drivers. Why do we need two drivers in the booth? And I get that NBC did the same thing. And I asked the same thing. Like, why do we need Jeff Burton in the booth when we had Dale Jr.? I would love Larry Mack to be up there. I don't think he'd probably have his fastball anymore either, but I still think he would bring a lot of needed enthusiasm and knowledge to the booth. Boyer just, they're trying to make him Darrell Waltrip, and he's ended up more like Michael Waltrip, where it's like he's going to be the silly goofball that has a bunch of energy and all that. But the thing is like when you listen to Boyer back in the day when he'd like joke around or something in the car, like it's because he was on task and on target, and then it still like would do something with it. But then at the same time, I don't know how Fox, because I think it's a Fox thing. I think Fox has goofed up on Boyer the most. Fox has somehow made him the goofball with a ton of energy that still has no energy somehow. None of them seem to have chemistry with the others. Boyer at least 5 times a race either talks over somebody or gets talked over when it was clear that he was not supposed to say something in that moment when Mike Joy or Kevin Harvick is saying something. So the booth is the problem there. Tons of commercials, obviously. But the thing about the broadcast, too, that I don't like is with an NBC broadcast and with a CW broadcast, there's a couple times a race where I'll learn something. Whether it's a story that Steve Letarte tells, whether it's some driver insight that Parker Kligerman gives, whether it's a story that Jamie McMurray was working on or Lee Diffie, it talks about something compared to another series. I don't get that with the Fox side. Like, it's great with the history stuff because Mike Joy can bring up history stuff. He's a human encyclopedia for NASCAR history. First ballot Hall of Famer, you name it. Every accolade you should give to him. I think Mike Joy is off the hook, I would say. I know a lot of people disagree with me. But I learned nothing. We have the same graphics. I've seen the same damn lug nut graphic every freaking week. And I get it's a challenge that happens, a thing that happens every week. We might as well just have one in the booth so they can like pick it up and be like, here it is, like just a remote, but you know what I mean? Like, you just be like, here you go. This is the problem here. Or like, something like that. Like, it can't cost that much to get one of those lugs brought up. It's just all of these things added together. And then to me, the thing and it grinds me the worst now this year, it's a new thing that's added on, and it's no disrespect to any of the other sports. I know they do it with every sport property, but I am so damn sick of a, a good 10% of the broadcast is spent telling you to watch something else, right? Whether it's UFL, whether it's NHRA, whether it's, IndyCar, whether it's some NFL show they have, or Harvick's Unhappy Hour, you name it. And I think it's because they've pushed so much on the IndyCar front, and again, it's nothing against IndyCar. Actually, when they don't put them head to head, I put IndyCar on the TV so that I can have something that I can casually watch. I'm a casual Indy fan, if you will. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of every time I turn it on, they're like, "Hey, guess what's starting during the race? IndyCar. Go watch that." Like, okay, that's great, but you're a NASCAR broadcast. It's just it all adds together and it bugs me. It just bugs me, all of it. Again, I have nothing against IndyCar. Like, I have nothing against. I have plenty of friends that cover are in there. Great people. Same with NHRA. Honestly, same with UFL. I don't watch it. I think it's boring with crappy football players, but I have nothing against it. I'm just sick of hearing about it all because it's not going to change my mind at this point. And yeah, I get it. Lots of salt. Make fun of me all you will. But I'll say this because there's a lot of people I've seen too that are like, "Oh, you're being overcritical." I'm like, I don't think fans should lower themselves and lower their bar to where it's okay for stuff to suck. Because the few times I've seen people who aren't NASCAR fans that have watched, they have the same kind of, or maybe not just not NASCAR fans, but not NASCAR focused fans. And they'll watch after not watching a Fox broadcast ever or in a while. They all say, "This is awful. Like, how do you, I can't follow anything. We only can follow because we know what the fuck's going on." And it's just like, no, you're not overly critical. No, they're not. I think fans have every reason to be upset right now. And I think people lowering the bar is the problem. That's just, I get it. I'm probably just saying the same damn things that I've said, and I'm going to say the same freaking things every 3 weeks during the Fox portion of the broadcast until 2031, and then say the same damn thing about the next gen every couple of months because of the racing or whatever until they go to the Gen 8, and then they'll put lipstick on a pig and do that. But it's just it's just old. It's just old at this point. And like I saw David Lamb post this picture of the IndyCar starting lineup, and like they had the car, the driver, all this information, and it's just, I'll admit I'm jealous of IndyCar fans. I'm jealous that your broadcast, and I know it's not Fox that's doing it all, right? Just like the CW is not the CW doing it, it's NASCAR doing it. I'm just jealous because that's a broadcast that people care. That's a broadcast that people want to work on because they try to elevate the game. And the NASCAR one is just, well, we'll do the same thing we've done since 2001. That's good, right? And I'll admit I'm jealous, and it's frustrating. And now I know, and everyone's going to complain about Bezos and all the human rights issues and blah, 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 that they wouldn't care about unless, if it was their side of whatever aisle doing it. I can't wait till Prime. I can't wait to see what they do. I'm curious going in as a fan. I want to see, like Dale Jr.'s teased little bits of it and stuff like that. I'm curious about those things. And I think they'll do some different things. Like they do different things with the NFL broadcasts and use advanced analytics a lot and explain those analytics. And it makes it better for fans watching. And I would love to see those things with NASCAR. I would love to see, here's where they excel on the restart, right? Here's who gets through the gears quicker than anyone else. Different things like that Dale Jr. and Steve Letarte can dive into, sink their teeth into. I want that. I want that in my sport. And we don't get it. Like the first 12 races of the year, We don't get it. And it sucks. It really does. Um, that's the frustrating part of it all, is like you can do it. They just choose not to. They just do the same damn things. They barely focused on Larson crossing the line. I was taking a note down because I looked away for a little bit and the laps are so fast. I looked over and Larson had already finished. I couldn't tell. I mean, it's just they focused on a fucking hot air balloon at one point. They're like, shit, man. They don't like the kids. You know what they like? Balloons. It's comical at this point. It is. I can see I'm getting red. Like I'm getting as red as my hat. It's just so damn annoying. But balloons. Very good. Very good. Very good reference. And don't get me wrong. Like after we finish this up, we'll talk about the rest of the race, stuff like that, and the super chat segment and everything. I will go on with the rest of my day. I'll take my dog for a walk. I'll go run, work out, whatever. See Riss when she gets home and have dinner with her. And I won't probably think about this the rest of the night. It's just, I'm thinking about it now, yeah, believe it or not, I do have a life outside of it. Look at the balloon, sponsored by Fox. That's the thing too. I saw people in my chat and on social media who had asked, like, is this race scripted or something? It's like they have to hit each checkpoint. And that's another thing. And we talked about it on NWP. And we'll be live Wednesday on Eric's channel. Ellie Productions will be coming on. That'll be fun. Maybe we'll actually have a longer run time than the race. 2 hours, 38 minutes, 42 seconds. We might. But that's one thing we've talked about is like they have to hit their certain checkpoints, right? They have to they have to get to the Toyota break of the race where they follow a Toyota driver instead of a commercial break and then go on commercial 2 minutes later. They have to have their, they get their one crank it up, which I'm glad they at least do it on the racetrack now. That's a thing I'm positive about with them on. I like crank it up. It's fun. It's something for me to listen to. So I hope at least you can gather from my last 40 minutes of complaining. It wasn't Kyle Larson dominating that was why I didn't enjoy this race, right? This is NASCAR. Drivers have dominated races in time immemorial with NASCAR. Since 1949, this has been going on. It's happened every decade. Doesn't matter how much people talk up the 90s or the 2000s or the 2010s or whatever. Doesn't matter. This has happened. Oh, and I got a notification. It's happened all the time. Oh, yeah, it's the Cubs game. Nice. I can watch that tonight. They won last night, like 11-0 or 16-0 or something. Domination is normal in short tracks. It's normal in NASCAR. It's not something to be afraid of as a fan. It's not something to be honestly too upset with as a fan. It's a part of this sport. That's why I'm unless somebody leads like every lap and they don't deserve to lead every lap. Like their car is a 30th place car, but everyone's running the same speed. So if Cody Ware went out there and led every lap because nobody could pass, then I'd be upset. That wasn't domination. That was just like the car getting worse. But Kyle Larson, William Byron, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, like those are the best of the best. The cream rises to the top. I mean, you look at this finishing order today, and the majority of the top 10 were guys that are really, really good most weeks. You had some outliers, of course, like Ty Gibbs usually isn't good each week, but we know he has a high ceiling talent-wise. He's good at Bristol. AJ Allmendinger isn't great every week, but AJ Allmendinger has been quietly really damn good this year, especially for his standard. Austin Dillon is the one. He's like the polar bear in Texas here of like, what's he doing here? But Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe, even somebody that everyone's talked up about, like if you get him in the right ride, he'll run top 5 more and stuff like that. Well, he ran top 5 today. Ryan Blaney, William Byron. I know people don't like him. I saw somebody in there that was like, that was saying that he's not that good. No, William Byron's pretty damn good. Is he as good as maybe some of his stats? Maybe no. Maybe they're overinflated a little bit, but he's still pretty damn good. He's still one of the, I would say, 5 to 7 best on his worst day. Christopher Bell, Ross Chastain, who in my opinion is carrying Trackhouse right now. Chastain is the driver of the race outside of Larson to me. No mistakes, made his way all the way up through the pack, stayed on the lead lap, and came home with the 7th place finish, finishing ahead of guys that honestly had better cars than him today. He deserves that shout out. And it's a shame that outside of like once today, the broadcast never spotlighted just how good Ross was. So I want to be that person that spotlights how good Ross was. And yeah, don't get me wrong. I think that Trackhouse is starting. There might not be a dumpster fire like you're saying, but they're not that good compared to where they were. It's like them in 23-11 have flip flopped. But yeah, Trackhouse probably needs Dodge, and I would love to see what the Melon Man can do. But there's so many things. Yeah, I see that one. We'll read the super chats at the end here. Fox pretty much missed the 5 hitting the wall. If it wasn't for social media and the fact that I follow a lot of the reporters and stuff and can be in group chats with some of them, I wouldn't have known that Eric Jones lost power steering. I think they might have mentioned it once in passing, but like they're like the 43's in the wall. Something's wrong. Well, yeah, something's wrong. The power steering's out, Clint. Like, yeah, of course something's wrong. So yeah, it's so many of these compounding things, so many. But yeah, no, like add to that. Chris Myers also stated Hamlin was getting the wave around. He was second after the stage. Yeah, I mean, Chris Myers, honestly, like I feel like he just phones it in that part of the year and waits till he gets to do NFL broadcasts again. So then he can I don't know, cover a Jags Titans game or something, or a Browns Bears game. Chris Myers, it's like he's like the, when you hear Chris Myers on the telecast, you're like, oh God, I'm gonna watch like the Titans and the Bears play today, aren't I? Like that's what I feel like. But still, he's an NFL commentator, which is a lot better than I will probably ever do in my career. So who am I to be throwing, stones at glass houses here? It was rough. I think today I'm just so frustrated because it's just a culmination of all these things that I've just been like kind of ignoring or trying to ignore that I just can't anymore. It's kind of like my crash outs about the playoffs at the end of the year every year, where it's like every year I go in thinking, man, this is the year. This is the year that I'm just not going to say a damn thing about it. And then by Martinsville, I'm like, I'm so damn done with it. We need to do something different, And hey, hey, I'm a Vikings fan. Okay. I feel like it's my job to, at least we're not Packer fans. I know I'll have my Packer fans upset. I say that every time just to get a rise out of you guys. It's so damn fun. It ain't jinxing at this point. It's just that, we could because we care. Looking through again, their SVG crashed today. I'm not shocked. Yeah, I finished 38th out of the race. He would have finished 34th if he stayed in the race. Honest to God, outside of the road courses, Shane Van Gisbergen is a waste of a spot in the field. He's so bad at the ovals. I know he had like the 20th place finish last week. It's like the one week that something didn't happen. But other than that, stage 2 was complete snoozer. Larson swept the stages. He got 60 points on the day out of the 61 possible. AJ Allmendinger, I saw one of y'all put in the chat, and I saw something else for 6/1000ths of a second. That was it. Bring the Cowboys hate. I don't care. Yeah, your team is only propped up by a dynasty that happened when half your fan base wasn't alive. Let's be honest, take the 90s out, and like how many Cowboys fans are actually alive for when their team was relevant. I might be bad as a Vikings fan, but at least I know once a decade I'll make it to the championship game. It's better than a Cowboys fan can say. I can rip on any NFL team, and I know I can get it back because I spent my whole damn life growing up getting it back. I lived in Northern Illinois with all Bear and Packer fans as a Vikings fan. I can live with it. At least Lions fans sucked enough no one knew they were in the room. Y'all, I feel like y'all get it easy. I would rather suck. That's the thing. That's the thing with like my drivers too that I felt. I would rather my guy suck or my team suck horribly, be like right at the bottom of any of them, rather than be mediocre. It's either suck or be elite. I don't want to be in between because I hate being in between in that purgatory. Same thing with my drivers too. It's like those years of Dale Jr. would be like a 7th to 13th place guy in the points. And I'm like, man, this sucks because I know he's not going to rise up and win. And I know he's good enough. He's not going to just plateau. I'd rather him crater off the face of the earth, and at least I can have low expectations or no expectations, or him be really elite and know that he can go for the championship and get let down. Same thing with, same thing with drivers compared to football teams, baseball teams, all of that. The final stage, I will say the final stage had at least a little intrigue because there were the different tires, because Denny Hamlin was able to at least keep a little pace with Larson. There were only a couple things that happened that were really of major note in it. The 48 blowing up. And that's like, I put in the chat, I'm like, can we at least have a 48 make this like awesome looking grenade? Like I would love to, I know that it's horrible for the engine builders and all of that. And I shouldn't wish ill will on anyone, but if it's going to suck, can it at least look cool? Like that, I would like to see that. I honestly, I think that I won't say I love it, but I think that one of the coolest visuals is the head-on camera when a car just completely grenades. Like, I think it was 2007 at the Brickyard, when Dale Jr. blew up on the front stretch, and I said it's an admittedly cool looking, thing to happen. It's also, I should probably look, where was Bowman heading in? Plus 59, so he'll probably lose a good amount. Well, he also got a lot of stage points too, so he might not lose all that much. But ultimately it didn't happen. They went to the garage. They finally were like, you know what? I'm out, boss. If you had the host of our deal we talked about, again, if that 77 team could just catch a damn break, they'd be top 20 in points. They've had good speed just about every week, and something stupid's happened. I still think, I'm not going to go back on my Ty Gibbs. What I said about Ty Gibbs a few weeks ago, that I'm not confident in him. I'm still not. This is a good track, and this is a good run and a good step in the right direction. But I still don't think I'm going to see this every week. But I will stick with what I said about Hocevar. I think he is one of those guys that's going to jump up and sneak and still get a win by the end of the regular season. But other than those things, other than the cool moment that Ryan Blaney too, I'll say that was pretty cool. Ryan Blaney having a whole lap on the field for about 10 laps there. I really like that. I was kind of hoping for obviously not a BS debris one, but like a legitimate caution to happen. Just because I would have loved to have seen the different strategy plays and if chaos did break out. But ultimately, pretty straightforward race. Again, I will give it to NASCAR. They had every opportunity to throw a stupid caution, and they didn't. So I'm glad they didn't put their complete foot, hand, everything on the scales. But ultimately, still, like I said, pretty dull race. But that'll do it for the review. Let's look at some of the super chats that you guys had. I see some already. Bring back Bristol. Where is it? Bring back Bristol Dirt. Hey, I was never against Bristol Dirt. You can go back. I actually I liked Bristol Dirt every year they had it. I had fun when I went. I liked watching it on TV. If they ever brought Bristol Dirt back, I would welcome it with open arms. I know it's not a popular statement, though. I don't think they're going to do that. But if they ever did, I'd be okay with it. Let's see where we got with this. So a couple of these were before we went live, so I apologize. We won't be able to put them on the screen for you. Bailey with the 1 month member chat says Fox's broadcast was worse than normal today. I agree. I think I went into pretty good detail on that. But then said Fox acknowledging the fastest lap. I'm shocked. I'll give them that too. They've improved on that. You can tell that people at Empower have heard because they've improved on that. And I have a feeling the rest of the broadcast this year on Prime, TNT, and especially NBC will point that out just because it's going to be more important as the year goes on. So I guess credit there. Soupy Spirit with the 5 says Long Beach has tire fall off and varied tire strategy. This race has nothing but a parade. Yeah. Yeah. And what knuckle dragger's idea was it to have Long Beach start an hour into the Bristol race? I get, West Coast audience. Like, you're telling me they're not going to be up by 11 o'clock or so. Like, and I get it, there's probably tradition I don't know of because I'm not a diehard IndyCar fan, but it's like, you're in charge of the TV side, Fox. There's no reason we should be having overlaps at the finish of races. It's so dumb to me. Steven Gibson here for the 10 says Bristol in the Gen 7 era, other than last spring, is terrible. Bristol desperately needs to be a one-date track, in my opinion, especially with the shit shows like that. Wow. So there are people that are saying one date. Damn. I give you credit because you got balls to say that in front of the world. I give you credit on that one, Steven. But I agree. It's been terrible with this car, and it is a car. Like, can we? I'll say this: can we finally stop blaming Martinsville? Because Martinsville is my favorite track. I've said this over and over. Can we stop blaming Martinsville for its problems when it's obviously the car? Like, Bristol and Martinsville have never really had a problem. Now, Bristol, I guess, with the reconfiguration did a little bit, say what you want about the different versions of it. But I'd still say that, especially after the 2012 grinding of the top of the track, it's been a pretty good track still, even if the old one is my favorite. Can we stop with the stupid comments being like, man, these tracks have always sucked? No, they haven't. It's not the track. Derek here says they should bring the soft tire to Bristol. I mean, I'd be down with the softer tire at Bristol. Definitely at this point. Zenith, thank you for being a member for 6 months. Damn, nice on you. Justin here says, anyone else have Bowman in fantasy? I had 282 points. Then his engine said hold my beer and over revved the engine and blew up stage 3. So I couldn't swap him out. I saw a lot of people pretty upset that they couldn't swap Bowman out. Godspeed everyone's lineups. Let's see. Hunter Nixon Fishing says, boring race, but I'm happy as a Larson fan. Hey, credit for you for being able to be objective on both ends. So, Reverend Rashim Hall Stewart for the 2 says, Kyle Larson is the Shohei Ohtani of NASCAR. Yeah. Would you call the Cubs game last night? For the Dodgers, by the way, would you call that like Larson crashing out on lap 4? Because they lost 16-0. Yeah, and we got The Rock coming up. That'll be fun. Bobby Blair says, bad cars, bad package, good racetrack. Props to Larson. He gave belt to ass. Yeah, it was belt to ass. The best car won every race this weekend. So you can't be too upset with that. I know that people aren't happy with Larson winning. And I know people are like, we graciously were spared the Larson sweep, best in the world talk again. And it's like, I don't even mind those. But I also like the chaos of social media too, to see everyone complaining about stuff and just sort of sitting aside and laugh. SW for the 5 here says, oh, brother, this race stinks. Okay, seriously, NASCAR, stop relying on Goodyear, fix the car, listen to Hamlin for Pete's sake. Yes. Please fix the damn car. And I swear to God, if I have to hear more, well, we got to cut costs and all that. Cutting costs is just firing more people at this point. That's what it's turned into. Like, the teams keep having to contract and get smaller and smaller and smaller, and we have to keep firing people who have really built up these teams. I'm so sick of hearing about cost cutting. I guarantee you, in a decade, when we look back on this era, we're going to look back and be like, wow, that was so stupid. All we had to hear about was cost cutting all the time instead of fixing the damn racing. I'm so sick of hearing about it. And that's not even like, NASCAR saying, it's like, Jimmy talking about the cost cap and other things like that. I'm just sick of hearing about it. Like, on the fan side, I understand on the business side why they have to do that. But as a fan, like, why should I care? I don't. I'm sorry. I don't. Um, the Sonic 24 says this car is severely testing my patience. You and me both. TJ says I've seen lots of bad races, but this one's got me mad. I agree. This isn't like 2008 Brickyard bad, or like I remember that 2014 fall race at Richmond that was really bad. The Kansas 2020 race that I unfortunately was at. Like, it wasn't those levels of bad, but it was pretty bad. Let's call a spade on that one, man. I mean, it was, I agree. It was bad. But at least we got Rockingham coming up. We get a week off and then we go to Talladega. Any hopeful improvements? I doubt there will be for Cup, but you never know. Talladega is always wild in one way or another. Bryce says belt to ass, Larson domination. Yep. Daniel for the 2 says next gen officially sucks on short tracks. I think it has for a while. Steve Lane, the cursed car nap series, 2 out of 10. Yeah, it was just bad. Andrew Winslow for the lol cow of the race is Alex Bowman's engine for somehow being more embarrassing than Rory McIlroy's record at Augusta National. He is choking again. Listen, not a big golf man myself, but I'll say this. I respect it. It's fun to play, not my sport to watch. I'll sit like if I'm like when I go up north for the 4th, nice rhyme. And I'm sitting in the garage with my grandpa. If he has a golf tournament on, like I'll probably watch a little bit of it, but it's just not my sport. I'm very much pigeonholed in like NASCAR and Minnesota Vikings, and then maybe like Notre Dame football if they're good. But like I have interestingly, I used to be and the Cubs, obviously, yes. But I used to be a much bigger sports fan back in the day. But I don't know. I just kind of fell out of a lot of it. But golf was never one that I got into. Respect the sport, just not my cup of tea. Bailey says props to Jesse Love for doing all 500 laps. I believe. Let's see. Technically, you nerd voice here. Technically, he only did 495 laps. Sorry, I'm being a dick. But props to him. Yeah, stayed in the whole time. Maybe not got the greatest finish out of it, but the valuable track time, and that was needed. Bobby Blair says, remember when the Steve said the car was designed for short tracks and road courses? Yeah, about that. Well, the problem with the road courses in particular is that cars are too good to drive. They overdid it. And I've seen a lot of people be like, well, they went through COVID with the development period and all of that. And it's like, okay, then they should have pushed it back a little. Like, yeah, we'd be upset with it, but it was originally supposed to be out in 2020 and they pushed it out to 2021. Then they pushed it to 2022 because of COVID on top of all of that. I think it was originally pushed to 21 anyway, but then COVID, they pushed it a year further, which is, I think, a big reason why they went to 750 in 2021 for a lot of those races. It's just because they're like, oh, we're not going to need half this shit, so we might as well tear it up. I mean, it had the next gen come into the series in 23 or in last year, but been done right, I think we'd all be okay with it. We would have complained. We would have been stuck with a 550 longer at some of the tracks that have had good races, but we'd also still on the other end had that swing of good races at tracks we've had bad ones at. I think either way, we'd have plenty to not be happy about. But I think they rushed the car and we're 4 years in now and still paying for it. Thunderbeard. I love that name for the 5. 15 plus laps under caution. Every caution is ridiculous. That's my biggest complaint. Definitely the cautions are too long. That's like, this is something for me that is jarring when I watch old races, is how quick the cautions used to be. Even 10 years ago. I don't know if it's maybe they're like making sure everything's clean or whatnot. I would love if the broadcast could tell us why the cautions lasted longer. It's probably just so they can get more commercials in, honestly. If they even use it. Let's see. Rowdy8_diecast says, if Kansas is mid, we need to scrap this car. At this point, yeah. I love Kansas. But if they screw up that, then then it's, that'll do, pig. Justin Drake for the 20. Oh boy, a raised on dirt guy who's self-made, one and not grandpa's money driver. Got to rate this 0 out of 10. That's the beauty of racing. The cream of the crop rises to the top. That's the thing. Like I said, it's not the domination that I was upset with in this race. I know a lot of people are. I know a lot of people are sick about Larson, whether it's hearing about him all the time, whether it's him winning a bunch. I understand. Trust me, I lived through the Jimmy Johnson years. I get being sick of somebody. But at the same time, especially since NASCAR is doing everything possible that they can possibly do to make the best not be the best and everyone be the same, he's still rising above a lot of them. He's still one of those few drivers that is pretty damn elite. So yeah, credit to him. And I'll just say this, for everyone that's hating on Larson right now, I'm just saying, I think that it's going to be insufferable for you in May with him doing the double. And in part, I think a lot of you that hate Larson and won't let anyone not hear about it, you are going to be insufferable for all of May. And I will just joke around about it the whole damn time and profit off of your anger. Sorry, I'm just telling it as it is. If you want somebody that's not giving their opinion, go watch NASCAR's channel, or anyone that wants to shill for him on Twitter. We know who to look for. Because I'll go both ways. I'll comment good and bad. Should NASCAR make spring Bristol 400 laps like Martinsville spring? Why don't we pull that one? 400 laps or 500 laps? Spring Bristol length. Go for it. Run wild, kids. Run wild. I think we should keep it at 500. I think Martinsville should go back to 500, personally. I don't think it's going to fix anything but getting the race done quicker, which might be great, but that's actually going to hurt the ratings. It's proven that longer races actually do get better TV audiences as long as they don't go too far out of the window. It just gives you a larger net to catch it. So I'd say no. Some races probably did need to be shortened over the years and more, like Pocono, I think is a perfect length now, but not Bristol. It's just like it to me. Changing the lengths of Martinsville and possibly Bristol, to me, that is just like NASCAR going and having Goodyear do all the work. You're just pushing the problem to someone else, and instead, I think we should solve for the root issue, and the root issue is the car sucks on these tracks. Connor for the 5 says, with all these problems with tires coming off, do you think this makes NASCAR regret the one lug tire? If so, do you see it going back to the 5? Well, they had said that the 5 had warped it too much because of the aluminum wheels. So I don't think they're going to go back with this car. Would they maybe for the next car? Maybe, but I think they're looking at the way the cost is. I think everything they looked at through trying to get better racing and trying to make the costs better. And this is one that I don't think they're going to go back on because it's cheaper to make them now than it was before. So I don't think so. I hope so, but I don't think so. Michael Paul for the 12-month member chat, 1-year member chat. Thank you. Says, one way it's going to change is with a new car. That's the thing. The new car thing, I don't think it's going to change all that much because we had the Gen 6 from the COT, but that was just a COT with a new body, basically. There were some changes, but it was practically the same car. So if they do a new change, it's probably just going to be the next gen that's just, prettied up. With different things. I don't think they're going to redesign the car in 3 or 4 years. They're just going to use Gen 8 as a marketing ploy. And unfortunately, we're probably all going to fall for it. This was a complete from the ground up redesign of the car to try and modernize it. I just think at this point, Steve Phelps had brought up that like this car can be changed over time to fit what we need and all that. Okay, well, let's start changing shit, please. Like that's where I'm at with it. Like I want to follow through, change it. Is the fourth OEM in the room with us? Isaac for the 2 says horsepower has become my dehydration gun. Thank you, Thunderbeard, for the new membership as well. I love that name. I love that name, Thunderbeard. It sounds masculine. I love it. Bobby Blair with the 5 says, here's an idea about racing actual stock cars instead of modified sports cars. The kids yearn for they yearn for the Gen 6. They yearn for the COT. Chris with the 5 says, how long will NASCAR brass continue to wear blinders while the Xfinity cars continue to outperform the top level every week? Give me more power. Well, I don't think there's more power in the Xfinity cars. I know that's something that's been going around, but I'm pretty sure that's not the case. And that's the thing is, fans hated the COT, and it was 100% because of the look. The racing did diminish a little bit. People don't, a lot of people in the chat I know are kids when that was happening. The racing did diminish for a bit, but it was not bad. Like I will always say this about the COT. The COT is a B to B plus car that followed up the A plus student. They were always going to look worse in comparison. But the problem is they only gave that car 5 years before they gave it a brand new body with the Gen 6. I feel like if they had stuck with it longer, like they now have with the Xfinity, and mastered where it can be, and the best of it, the Xfinity every week, the racing there would be similar in Cup. But that's just me. Steven with another 20. Thank you. Says Gen 7 sucks pure ass. 2 big tires, 1 lug dumb, diffuser ruining short tracks, speedways 4 wide saving gas. NASCAR needs to get on the work the next car, but I don't want to lose what we've gained at the cookie cutter tracks. That's the thing, is like everywhere that this car is a blind spot, the Gen 6 was better. I wish we could go back to the Gen 6 for the short tracks. Like, I don't want it really anywhere else. Maybe the road courses. And then, I will say the super speedway. I freaking love the super speedway package at like 2019 to 21. That was so damn fun. I attended almost every super speedway race because of how damn awesome that package was. Like from 2020 on, I attended as many as I possibly could. Because it was awesome. I wish somehow we could figure out how to get that. But I think the thing is too, is like on top of the racing not being the greatest at super speedways, it's such a strategy thing with the stages. I say take the cautions off the stages and go from there. If you run out, you run out. If you crash out, you crash out, whatever it might be. That's just me. Fred Dog for the 5. Are you annoyed like I am about Joy calling NHRA the fastest, quickest sport and IndyCar the fastest sustained, but ignoring NASCAR? Getting harder to defend him. I'm just annoyed with everything, man. Mike Joy's the least of my issues on it. I enjoy sitting on the sidelines with the NHRA versus IndyCar, quickest on earth or whatever the hell they want to go with. I don't care. It's fun for me to watch, but I really, that's one of the least of my issues, honestly. Justin with the 5 says, I swear after 2021, Fox told Clint to be dull. He was lively and great, in my opinion, in 2021. That's the thing. If you look back, most of us were actually pretty okay with Clint Boyer. I'm going to shift this because I keep getting behind the super chat too much. He was not that bad. It's just, something with the directing that with Fox was just like, you know what? What if we made you Michael Waltrip? That'll work, right? My crazy adventurer says, can we acknowledge Chastain went from 35th to 7th? His pit crew losing him spots every stop too. Yes, again, Probably, you could argue he's driver of the race. He's the only one outside of Larson you could argue was driver of the race. He was awesome. And we gave him a shout out earlier. I'm willing to again, though. Definitely willing to again. Let's see. Below the apron says should have been called the Nothing Happened 500. For the most part, yeah. Carl Singleton for the 5 says, to be fair to DW, from 2001 to 2014, he actually was somewhat smart. He was very smart. And I think DW is a smart man because I've met him multiple times since he's retired at the fairgrounds, among other places. And he, it's an act. It's just they get to a certain point that they Flanderized him. And that's what they've done with, if you know what Flanderizing is basically like taking one thing about a character like Ned Flanders and making that his entire personality. And that's what they did with DW. It's what they're doing now with Clint Boyer. It's what they're going to do with the next schmuck that they put in that spot. They did it with Michael Waltrip. They Flanderized Clint Boyer and Darrell Waltrip. Now, DW was great when Fox treated NASCAR like the serious sport it should be treated like. Alexander for the 20 says Fox needs to treat the NASCAR broadcast like it's a Sky Sports F1 broadcast or IndyCar on NBC broadcast. Make me feel like the race I'm watching is important. Fox just wants to be funny. I don't watch racing for jokes. Sorry. And that's the thing is, Fox has always been more lackadaisical with their coverage. I think that's a good way of putting it. They've been more loose with it. And when you hit that balance, it works. But it's like I always look at, for instance, I compare it with the NFL side because I know a lot of people that I know on the NFL side of covering things, whether podcasts, media, whatever. A lot of them are now calling out Fox. And that's why I've said NASCAR has been the canary in the coal mine for years now. Like it's coming, the Ides of Fox are coming down the pipes. And I think that I think that they finally went too far in that, but I'm okay with them being chill in like the pre-race or in a little segment during a caution or something. But where they've overstepped the line is now they treat the entire damn race like that. You let the asylums, the inmates run the asylum. That's where I have the major problem with it. So I agree. It's getting old. It's gotten old years ago. Bobby Blair says Eric's going to need to get his save short track racing sign again. Yeah, I'm going to ask him to start the show with that on Wednesday. If he has not done it in his video, he needs to do it for the podcast. Bailey says Fox missed Larson hitting the wall too. Yep. Daniel with the 2 says, I can't believe that Fox missed the 5 hitting the wall. Yep. I mean, just stuff you should not miss. The leader of the race who's dominated the whole day hits the wall and you're like, I think he hit the wall. Well, do you? Yeah. Let's see. Alex for the 2 says, whether you love or hate him, Larson can drive. Yes, he can. He definitely can. And then I won't say I'm like a huge Larson fan, but I definitely like seeing what he can do. I like seeing dominance at times. I like appreciating dominance, I guess is a good way of putting it. I might not like to see it in the moment, but I appreciate it. Bobby Blair for the 5 says, I'm a Texans fan. We've been disappointing since 2002. Screw the Titans. Sorry, Danny B. The thing with the Texans is, like, no one even remembers they're there, I remember me and my friends when I was like in sixth grade, and granted, the Texans at that point hadn't even been around a full decade yet. But we like had a contest with each other, like in 5 minutes, can we name every NFL team? And the one I forgot was the Texans. That'd be like the biggest. I think that's the biggest slap in the face for anyone. Like, you're so irrelevant, no one remembers you're there. You'll get there though. You got a good quarterback. Fred Dog for the 2 says, don't nit about one Bristol, but give me real dirt. I think you mean like real dirt track or so. I mean, I'd be cool going to the dirt track. This car raced better on the dirt than it did on concrete, though. So I get why people are bringing it up. By the way, we're going to end the poll here. 500 laps has won 2/3 to 1/3 over 400 laps. So there's that. Seaborder Coastline for the 2 says at least it was a good points day for Ross. Yes, and he again arguably could be driver of the day. Bobby Blair for the 2 says RCR top 10. Hang the banner. Yes, hang the banner. RCR did something that was a bad day for them 30 years ago, or even 10 years ago, honestly. Maybe 12 to 15 actually. Make the Xfinity cars the Cup cars, dude. Really? Says Evan for the 2. Xfinity race is way better, so I get why people say it. A couple more here. Chris for the 2 says, please, fans, sell out the Rock this weekend. I've heard from a few people that I'm pretty sure they're going to announce a sellout like in the next few days. There's a lot of people going. Ben Kennedy did say that if they can prove that it has viability, that they will more heavily consider bringing a Cup race there. So if you're not going this year, you've also got next year too to just go full all out and pack the place out. Make sure you're there. The Practical Virginian left the 2, no comment, but left the 2, so I appreciate that still. And Bobby Blair says CJ Stroud and D'Amico Ryans are my Lord and Savior. Pretty good. They're pretty good. All right, we will be live on Eric's channel Wednesday. New video will be coming out tomorrow. And if you haven't caught it already, I put a video out this morning about the possibility of a new super speedway. So definitely check that out. I see one last one from Alexander here. Where to go? For the 10 says, as for the Gen 7, teams will spend the same amount of money on engine R&D, whether the car has 670 or 950. So it's finally time to take a chance and deneuter the engines. I agree, other than the fact that I agree, other than the fact that it is true what they say about the 900, 950 horsepower would definitely wear the engines out quicker and cost more in that respect. But everything else I agree on 100%. And yes, I'm wearing a Chicagoland shirt. Yes, I am. But yeah, if you haven't caught that video already, head on over there. It's, I give my thoughts on it and different rumors I've heard with it. We are all good with reckless speculation. But thank you guys so much for coming on out. I will see you guys this week and Wednesday night on Eric's channel. Can't wait. And you enjoy the rest of your Sunday night. Later, y'all.